as I was growing up, I was always told I need to be a doctor, or if not a doctor, a lawyer or accountant or something else similar that's going to be a really impactful and safe career choice. And so, up until I was really 22, that is all that I heard from parents and even what I felt from aunts, uncles, friends, family, because my grandpa was a doctor and other people close to me were in the medical field or similar roles, lawyer, etc. And so I grew up my entire life hearing this over and over and over again. And then it wasn't until I was 18, 19, 20 when I started to think maybe there's other things out there that I could do. And it's not just me going to school and getting amazing grades and then going to medical school, becoming a doctor, and living my life that way. And I want to share a key experience in my life that totally opened the door from me needing to do everything to become a doctor to eventually now going into business and entrepreneurship and likely pursuing this for my entire life. There is a company called Circus Tricks, and it is over $1 billion, and they are a few hundred trampoline or parks, these huge warehouses full of trampolines and games, all this other stuff. And the founder of this company, his name is Case Lawrence. And at the time, I was at university. He taught an entrepreneurship class at BYU, and that's where I attended. I took this class, and he had an entire lesson dedicated on basically going through his story. And the reason this was impactful is because he was a lawyer by trade for about 11 years. So here's briefly his story, and then I'll get into the lessons that it taught me. So he went to law school and became a lawyer, and he was practicing for 10, 11 years it was business-oriented law. I don't know exactly what it was, but he got a lot of practice with that, and hey, he was doing fine for himself. And then shortly after 2008, when there was a huge financial crisis and a lot of real estate was available and pretty inexpensive, he had an idea in, I want to say 2010, and then it came to light in 2011, to open up a trampoline park in his hometown where he lived, which was Fresno, California. And he opened it up, and he goes through the whole story of, in short, it was really, really challenging to open it up. It was small. He didn't think anybody was going to come. And then it blew expectations out of the water. He was making money hands over fist. And he was having all these challenges with the financial crisis from being a lawyer. And this was kind of his Hail Mary play. And it ended up absolutely smashing it. And since 2011, in the last 13 years, he has expanded to, I want to say, 3 or 4 countries: North America, Europe, Asia. I know he has one in Hong Kong, is a big one he talked about, and is completely like blown expectations out of the water for anything financially he planned on achieving through what he ended up finding was a huge success in a trampoline entertainment parks. So he scratched being a lawyer. He is still a lawyer, but he doesn't make so much money with what he does now that he learned his lesson. And this was pivotal for me because at the time I'm a 21-year-old who is sitting in class and hearing somebody who went through all the same steps I did. And what happened is he was a lawyer for 8 years. The financial crisis happened. He lost a job. He was going through these difficult times where financially it was really tough. And I was kind of shocked because here's somebody doing exactly what I'm told to do: go to school, jump through all the hoops, become a doctor, become a lawyer, and then he's working for somebody else, making decent money, and it's somewhat secure, and then a financial crisis happens, and he is having a really tough time. And that was kind of shook me, because I always imagined if I just followed what I was told, that it would work really well. And life doesn't treat you that well. It throws curveballs or 2008 financial crises at you. And he was able to find a really good thing with entrepreneurship that worked for him. Now, the lesson that this taught me was, first off, that people who tell you to do things, you have to look at it objectively. I don't think that my parents or aunts or uncles were trying to give me bad advice by saying I should become a doctor. And I like a lot of parts of medicine. I'm still very into health and wellness and knowing my body, and I enjoy that. So it's not misguided to say that. And there are certainly doctors I personally know who have great lives, and it's not to discount that at all. It's that I was told, and I either didn't know growing up or wasn't experienced enough with life to understand that there's other things I can pursue that are still good. And I had the mindset, I was taught that if I wasn't a doctor or lawyer, that I was pretty much going to be doomed to fail or work some cheap job like cleaning carpets, which would be super not sexy, and I'd be poor in my whole life and have no status. and that would be reflected in who I became. So I grew up knowing this narrative wholeheartedly. And then to see all of that, there's lots of little things that happened, but that story just shattered what I thought I was supposed to do. And the whole idea of I could not just be a doctor, I could go be an astronaut if I wanted to. I could go try to pursue professional sports. I could go do something at the time, like influencing or being an online creator, huge thing. And then I saw people, I noticed it much more as my mind expanded, who were doing really well in every aspect of business, whether it was doing a tech startup or crypto was big at the time, although I don't think that's really a business, it's gambling. There was people who were doing just simple businesses, who were window cleaning and doing well, or pest control, because I lived in Utah, and so there's tons of people who do summer sales, and I was exposed to that. And I saw people who were doing really well in insurance, or who did investment banking and went to high finance or private equity, and so many avenues that I just didn't even have on my radar as successful careers, where I realized there's so much I can find exactly what it is I want to do. And this led me down a path to study and see exactly what interested me so I could find what my best career choice is. And I will say, I'm still looking because I have an idea and I believe I know what I like. It's very normal as I'm 24 and I keep learning and growing that I'm going to fine tune more of what that is. What I found is I enjoy more than anything making an impact in people's lives, which, oh, mushy-feely, that's great, Jonah. What does that mean? It means when I have an employee who I hire and then I help teach them a skill on using social media better, and they go through the process of refining their editing skills and learning the industry, and all of a sudden a few months down the road they're doing well, they have a skill set they can use to leverage for another job or a career jump down the road, and they're going through all this growth with us, and I get to build a relationship with them, and then I see them go off and pursue something else. For me, that is supremely meaningful, and I've seen that when I work with people and with clients who use us, and then, hey, their results go up and they're happy and I get to build a relationship with them, with employees, with vendors, or in my personal life with a younger brother who's 13 and figuring out the world, and he comes to me with questions about life. Like, I don't know, like he's going through a whole lot of changes in middle school, as kids do, and to be able to be, in a way, a mentor and help guide my brother is so meaningful. And the way that I see myself most able to do that and to share my experience and knowledge is through owning a portfolio of businesses, which takes many years, private equity, decades to get into and really succeed, and through sharing all of my lessons as transparently as I possibly can on podcasting, video, mediums, just like I'm doing right now. And where I see my life going from this experience has been, I'm going to be a doctor my whole life, and all of a sudden there's just an explosion of color of I could do anything. And ultimately what I would like to do is run private equity companies where I get to be involved in so many different things. And the reason that this is so exciting is because you get to have involvement in lots of different areas and you're not focused on just one of them. Now, private equity, I don't want to get too far into the weeds. I wanted to explain how my process of going from I have to do this one career to breaking off and I can do all of these things. But I want to take a step back and go through the expectations that my parents had. Because when I first made this change, what I noticed is that my friends and family were like, oh, cool, Jonah, that's great. But you should, and I could tell they were like, hey, we support you no matter what. But it certainly felt like, well, you really should be a doctor, but follow your dreams and that's good. And it really stings when people you love and care about, it feels like you making a choice they disapprove of is reflected in their actions. And I understand that people, they want what they see as what's best for you. And it's really challenging to go from the expectations that somebody else has set for you and you have for yourself because you grew up thinking that this is what you're supposed to do, to then standing up for something totally new and having all these people in your life from school and from work or sports or these other friends, family that you have, to go from they expect you to be this thing and you're saying, no, I'm going to be something different. And a lot of people, there are so many friendships that I didn't, like, there's no falling out. They just went their own way. I went my own way, and I won't really interact with them again because I went on such a different path than I was going on before. I wanted to share my story as to how I've weaved my way into where I'm at today and the challenges between doing what you're supposed to do versus finding something that you enjoy. I hope this is meaningful for one person in a similar situation because it's really tough to hear and know that you're supposed to do this thing and then change trajectories and have people you care about disapprove of your decision, and that's challenging.